Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Casey. I'm coming back to you with another video today. Today we're going to be replacing the oil filter housing gasket, well, multiple of the gaskets and the bolts. I have a kit here from FCP Euro that's pretty much everything you need. There's an oil pressure sensor, a couple gaskets for oil lines. Got the two main gaskets for the oil filter housing, all that stuff. New drain plug, that's not part of this, but I figured if I'm ordering it, might as well add that to my car. It never hurts to have an extra one. So if you know anything about these cars, everything likes to break on them. All the gaskets like to go. My car currently has 123,000 miles. I've noticed that there's a leak starting. Well, it started around my oil filter housing, so that means it's time for a new gasket. So in this video, I'm also going to be doing a carbon clean of my valves. I've been planning to do these two together because, like I said, this is 123,000 miles, and when I bought the car, I had a full service record from the previous owner, and it has never had a carbon clean. And if you know anything about the N54 and having a carbon clean, or any really direct injection engine, they need the carbon clean. That's a huge part of their maintenance. So I'm going to be doing it by hand, or attempting to do it. If this doesn't work out well, I'm going to go ahead and order all the parts for the walnut blasting, but I'm going to try to scrub them by hand with the valve cleaner, with valve cleaner spray and wire brushes. But since you need to take the intake manifold off to get to the the oil filter housing gasket, I might as well do it all at once, since I'll have that intake manifold off so I can get to the valves. So under this hood is a lot of carbon, and I'm not talking about the carbon fiber, like the good stuff that you want under your hood. I'm talking underneath this intake manifold here. There's all the valves, and obviously, and they get covered in carbon because on direct injection engines, the fuel does not pass over the valves before entering the cylinder. It's actually directly injected into the cylinder, hence the name. And on a normal port injection engine, the fuel passes by the valves, and that acts as a natural cleaning agent to wipe all of that carbon out. But since it's direct injection, there's no fuel passing over the valves, and blow-by from oil from the turbos builds up carbon on the valves, which creates a significant restriction in the valves, which you don't want when you're looking at where the air is coming into your engine. So we're gonna go ahead and run to Lowe's real quick and grab some wire brushes, and hopefully they have all the cleaners I need. If not, we'll have to hit an auto parts store. I've read a lot of things on forums saying you can gain a decent amount of horsepower that you lost from this restriction. Some people had dynoed their cars and made anywhere from 30 to 50 more horsepower to the wheels. So mainly a lot of them say it's a lot of top end power. So Lowe's actually did not have really anything that I needed other than these brushes, which these are pretty big, so they're probably just gonna really fit into the port and clean like the very base of the port where it opens up, but they definitely won't fit down by the valves. And then I got a new blow gun connector, whatever you want to call it, for my compressor since the last one broke. So we're gonna head over to AutoZone now and get the rest of the stuff we need. So I forgot that conveniently in the same parking lot as Lowe's is an AutoZone, so I'm gonna head in and get the rest of the stuff. All right, so I got the rest of the stuff I need. It's all bagged up right now, so I'll show you guys when I get home. But they pretty much had everything else I need. Also, I have some gun cleaning kits at my house, and I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of the brushes and like picks in those sets are really good for getting into the tight areas where the valves are, like the back sides of them. Or I don't know what side you consider, maybe the front side, but the back from when you're looking in through the port. So I will see you guys back at the house. All right, so we're back in the garage. I went ahead and took the engine cover off, just maybe to let it cool down a little faster, but I'm gonna let the engine cool all the way down. I got my compressor all out and set up, and the new air gun all assembled and stuff. I found at AutoZone just an assortment of brushes for spray gun. Hopefully these will do the trick, but they might not be like a hard enough bristle, so that's where I'll have to use the gun cleaning kit. I got 2 cans of the intake valve cleaner from CRC, and I just got a can of brake cleaner. I have a pick set, just a couple other random ones I had laying around, and then I have the new gaskets for the oil filter housing, and then some shop rags, some cups to put bolts in. That's a good trick. If you ever are taking stuff off your car, it's a great idea to label the cup from what the bolt came from, and then I also number them in the order that I took them off, so then when you reassemble, it pretty much is like a step-by-step guide on how to reassemble everything. So I got all that, just waiting on the engine to cool now, and I will be back. So I actually just dug around in my house a little and found a gun cleaning kit. So this has all sorts of different wire brushes of different courses or different hardnesses. So these should be really good for getting around the valves, especially the little ones. And then they have these, they screw right into these poles here, so it'll have no problem reaching down in there. But the car is still pretty warm, so just waiting it out a little bit longer, and then I'll start taking it apart. In just over an hour, and I had a fan aimed down at the engine bay, so the car is pretty much cooled off all the way. I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling off parts. I already took the intake filters off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take everything else off and come back to you guys then. For some reason, the camera quit recording like halfway through that clip, but basically I got everything removed up to the charge pipe, and now I'm just taking the throttle body off. Samuel!
What's up?
What up? How we doing? Oh, there we go. It's my throttle body. Now we're just gonna go ahead and pop this this here intake manifold off. I'm gonna break these nuts here loose. Is there anything? Alright, so we got the intake manifold off, and I'm gonna try to give you guys a good view. What?
Job site.
Hey.
We were playing frisbee.
Oh, I got one, hold on. But you can see the valves are disgusting inside. Alright, so it's just a little bit long, or a little bit later, and as you can see, the car is now up on stands. I had a bit of an issue with dropping a wrench down in the engine bay, and the only way to get it out was to take the under tray off. But it actually helped because it gave me access to crank the crankshaft to close up the piston. So I actually just used my camera on my phone and recorded and watched because I was cranking the crankshaft from the bottom. And it's hard to tell, but that is a closed valve. It's sealed all the way, and that is an open valve. So we're gonna go ahead and mask everything off, get it ready, and then go ahead and start scrubbing. I did pull this plugs and ignition coils, and then make sure the car's in neutral, or else it won't crank. If it's a manual, if it's automatic, I'm pretty sure it will crank if it's not in neutral, but I'm not sure. But another way I checked just to be sure that the valve was closed was I stuck my air gun down in cylinder 1's spark plug socket, and then I just held my hand up against here and blew air and made sure nothing was coming out. And this does work because cylinder 3 right now is open, and I blew it in, and it's actually a different sound, and you can feel air coming back up through. So we know our valve is all the way sealed. Now it's time to start cleaning it. And real quick, like I said, I'm just gonna give the side of the engine, just clean it up with some shop towels, and then tape off or mask off the ports that I'm not cleaning, just so we don't get gunk in them. Even if they're closed, I mean, it's just working backwards, so might as well seal them all off. It only takes a couple extra seconds, so let's get started on that. All right, so we have the other 5 cylinders sealed off there. Now I'm just gonna go all around, underneath and above and anywhere where we're gonna get that valve cleaner stuff spraying at. I'm just gonna lay down paper towels just to make the mess easier to clean up in the end. I got everything masked off, and now I'm gonna go in with the brush and just start scrubbing away. All that gunk was just from up in the top of the intake there. Maybe I can just get that with paper towel. So I'm gonna go ahead and just spray it down now with the intake valve cleaner. It should fill up this port. If not, it means your valve is not sealed, and do not spray anymore because you'll flood your engine. Might want to take a rag I'm finding here and cover up. the rest of the port when you're spraying this, but it is filling up and bubbling, which is what you want to happen. Alright, so we're just gonna let that sit for a little bit and I'll get back to you guys. Alright, so that's been soaking for about 10 minutes now. I'm just gonna go in with a variety of picks, brushes, and whatever I can get down there and start picking away at all the carbon buildup. Wow, you can just feel all that stuff coming right off. The main goal for this whole process isn't necessarily to make it look like I walnut blasted it, where it's perfectly clean and all the carbon is removed, but just to get the majority of all the gunked up stuff, so we're not gonna have any effect on our airflow for the intake of the engine. So, wow, that is crazy how much stuff is coming out of there. So now I'm just gonna go in with the shot vac and suck up that first round of gunk and see how it's looking. Wow, instantly they look a million times better. I'm just gonna keep repeating this process, going in with different picks and brushes, and I'll get back to you guys in just a little bit when I think I have it looking a little better. All right, so it has been a couple of hours since my last clip. The cleaning process of these intake ports is pretty tedious, and I've used a variety of different brushes and picks, and you can see I got a mess going on here. It's quite a project, but honestly, I'll show you real quick. So this is these are valves that I've done. They look really nice. They're not obviously up to walnut blasting like quality or how clean that gets them, but they're so much better, and it's for sure gonna free up all that restriction from the carbon in there. But I'm gonna start taking parts off to get this oil filter housing off, and then I can redo all the gaskets on that as I'm waiting for these two cylinders to soak. But basically, just to explain the process real quick, you just pretty much fill up the intake port with the CRC intake valve cleaner, and then you just start going in any direction you can with brushes, picks, anything, and you'll feel all the debris start to come up, and then you can just take the shot vac. And then what I actually did, which I saw on a lot of other videos, I just have this little piece of plastic hose and just duct taped it to the end of my shot vac hose, and then it actually reaches down in there, and you can feel and hear all the stuff getting sucked up out of it. There was a lot of buildup in here, so this is definitely gonna make a huge improvement on the health of this engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and start taking this stuff off as I'm letting this soak, because after 4 of the 6 cylinders, I found it's best to give it, fill up the port about halfway, scrape it, brush it, do everything, get all that gunk loose, and then I actually take the straw of the intake valve cleaner and put it all the way down in there and just spray on full blast in every corner I can for a little bit, and it kind of just agitates everything, and you'll see the foam starts, you can tell it starts foaming up and bubbling, and that means it's eating all the carbon away. With these two about halfway done, I couldn't be more happy with how this is. Just from, I mean, it's probably about anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how bad they were for each valve. I hope that's a good shot. It's really not focused in there that well, but there, that's kind of better. And like I said, I'm not trying to remove every single bit. I mean, obviously in a perfect world I would, but some of it is just real hard to get to, and the main goal was just to get the majority of all that gunk out of there. So I will come back to you guys and continue to give you updates throughout the project. And as you can see, here's just a couple. The middle two were probably the worst, which is weird because I don't think that's how it usually is on these cars. But anyways, I have the oil filter housing off. It was a bit of a pain, especially with how I have this coolant line rigged up here with kind of this aftermarket connector. It makes it weird with one of the bolts, but all I gotta do now is throw it all back together and we'll see how it runs. Really late, so I decided I was just gonna put the camera down and knock the car out. I do have to work in the morning, so can't be out here too late, but I got everything buttoned up. The whole new, I got all the new gaskets and O-rings and stuff on the oil filter housing, and then I got all the intake valves cleaned off, everything is hooked back up, or it should be at least. And all I gotta do now is toss the under tray back on, and then I can lower the car down and start it up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and give it the first start. It's not abnormal for cars to smoke after having a carbon clean. It's just like leftover debris and stuff being burned off. So here we go. Oh, there it is. Woo! No smoke out of the bag. That's what we like to see. That is just all the excess carbon and stuff burning off. It's weird, it's just coming out of one, but oh yeah, you can smell it burning off all the cleaner and shit. But that's all normal. It should go away as it warms up a little bit. No smoke or anything coming from the bay, that's always a good sign. A lot of the white smoke out here has died down. This is a full straight pipe on this car with resonators, so there's nothing preventing any of the smoke. So it is it is normal for it to smoke just a little on startup, but it should die down. But so far, so good. So I did just throw a check engine, and I have a light out, but I threw a check engine, not a service engine, so that just usually means something's not quite connected right or something. I've had this happen before where it's just been a vacuum line, so I'm just gonna go over all the lines real quick. I moved down the street just a little bit, so we'll see if we can figure out what it is. Upwards, so I don't think it's all the way plugged in. That could be why the car is freaking out, but we also have a new oil pressure sensor, so it might not like that either. So we'll see where we can go from here. So I toyed around with that sensor a little bit. I think the car's running better and it hasn't thrown a check engine yet, so it could just be freaking out because it's reading all sorts of different numbers with the carbon clean, and I don't know for sure, but we'll see. Looks like maybe it was that sensor, or maybe the car was just freaking out because it's getting all sorts of different readings than normal. But the check engine hasn't came back on. Even like getting on it a little. It's not a boost leak because it's not a vacuum leak. I'm still building boost, so none of the vacuum lines are knocked off. So I'm gonna throw the engine cover back on because it's in my passenger seat, and then let it warm up to operating temperature and see what happens from there. So it is now the next day. I ended up just wrapping up all the filming a little early last night. I was getting kind of tired. It got real late. But overall, the difference the carbon cleaning make is actually crazy. Like, the car feels way more responsive. It's so much smoother. It has a lot more top end power, and it even spools up quicker. So I would definitely recommend this to anyone with a direct injection on their engine. The difference is night and day. It really is. It's worth putting the time and money into it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I'll be sure to be posting more videos up here soon, and I'll catch you guys later.